All righty then. Welcome back to the final half hour of Really Live Green Rush, the Business of Cannabis talk show. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media and sometime host on this program. We're here every Friday afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m., but we won't be here for the next few weeks. Our next Really Live show will be January 6th on Friday. Same bat time, same bat channel, and we will at that time give out the results of our poll this is the first time we've ever done a poll, and it is the top 5 news stories of 2022 in the cannabis industry. And you can go, I'm pretty sure now that we've released it, you should be able to find it on our website. You should be able to find it on some of our LinkedIn page and all that neat stuff. And if you can't, before I leave the office tonight, I'll make sure that we've posted it in all those locations so you can get involved with this, enter the contest, and maybe even win one of our limited edition t-shirts and a gift card. Now, as I mentioned on the other side of the break, 2 gentlemen, one, Miggy, you're out in Washington State, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
And are you in the same neighborhood as Josh?
We're like we used to be neighbors until I moved.
That's right. And Thomas Howard is here as well. Cannabis Legalization News is his show every Sunday afternoon. Thomas, go ahead, give yourself a plug on your Sunday afternoon show.
Tune in on Sunday where we're going to be going over the top 5 news stories of cannabis in 2022. That's right. The gang recycles your trash, guys. Sometimes you come on the podcast to do another podcast. But no, I mean, tune in. We have a great time, and we go over the week in cannabis legalization, and then we have a little bit of fun. And so now we've been splitting the show up. And so if you guys want to come on the podcast, you'd be on 420 Somewhere, our deep dive into the cannabis industry with a guest. And then that's more of our sponsorship type of thing. And then I use the YouTube channel to do SEO based stuff. I just had some manufacturer of hydroponic stuff wanting me to do a video for that. I don't get into that type of stuff too much, but it happens when you're doing YouTubes.
Your show was terrific. I enjoyed it, and I'm going to give you a really big compliment, okay? Because not only do you host the show, but you're also the video director through StreamYard. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm pushing a whole bunch of buttons while I'm doing the show.
There is no freaking way I would ever be allowed to push buttons on this kind of a show, okay? There's just no way. So I appreciate, I respect your technical savvy on that one. Miggy joins us as well. And Miggy, in the chat room, you brought up a story. I know I've read about this. Let's talk a little bit about the Cowboy Cup controversy. If you can, give us a little background on it, and then we can get into it a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really sparked my interest because that's what I do for a living. I work in quality, and so this, and it's a big issue with cannabis, period, right? Talking about quality, and then as you guys talked about, getting it grown in one state versus another state, right? I always think it's kind of funny, right? It's what people on the East Coast don't shit. Right. Saying there's this parity that we're this side is going to be different than this side. But if you do it right, and if you understand the plant and growing things, and again, cost effectiveness is always going to be a thing. But that's a business thing. Right. I'm just talking about the plant. And so in Oklahoma, at the recent Cowboy Cup, I guess they brought in last year, they had issues, and you guys can fill me in. I didn't dig much into this because when it comes to quality and it comes to testing cannabis, you get into the biology of things, and molds and pesticides. And I'm very basic. I look at it. I'm like, all right, there's nothing strange in there, and there's no hairs that are not human or dog, and I'll smoke it. But people really get into it. And so they found a lot of things in some of the judges. They're questioning, did the mold occur when it left? Did it occur when it was not transportation wise? And I kind of find it funny because in a regulated state market, that wouldn't even be a question here in Washington State, right? It gets packaged and sits on the shelf, let alone set into a contest. So I just thought it was funny that, the quality, or at least people felt like their shit was being torn apart through other third-party testers. And it's just what it is. I didn't dig much after that. I don't know if you guys know more about the Cowboy Cup situation. But
it sounds like it's very similar to what we were talking about, the challenges of the testing lab, and when that testing lab comes out, and how fresh is the quality that they're testing, and is there a a line that every testing lab has, you know, and who goes over it and who doesn't, and are they actually, I don't know, perhaps something nefarious is going on with testing labs. I'd be shocked to hear that money might be changing hands and they may be doctoring some of those results.
Well,
Thomas, am I being a little, I don't know, crazy?
No, we have news stories all over the place about people doctoring, and then we haven't done that episode. We should do it because it's interesting how to cheat a testing lab to up your THC levels, how to commit fraud on your clients. Not the best business strategy. And you're actually seeing this as I'm a lawyer from that type of perspective. The lawyers are like, wait a minute. So they all want to say they have the most THC, so much so that they will lie about it. Sounds like we got a lawsuit on our hands, buddy. Might even be a class action if we do this right. And so we're seeing those out of California now. And then as other states come up and online, and then they're lying about their THC numbers, that's false. You know, that's a misrepresentation designed to sell your product.
Hey, Mickey, call me crazy, but I bet you know it isn't the amount of THC that you should be deciding what you buy. Am I right on that?
Right. But, you know, in this situation, too, it's not the THC that was being questioned, but it's the actual like molds and stuff being found in the actual plant matter. So the issue here really is handling of the plant, right? Like, did they put it in a nice dry area? Was it, you know, it sounds like something grew that shouldn't have been there, but it's not THC levels. But when it comes to the THC levels, I know of labs that how they've done it is like fudge the numbers, right? So you got a gram of cannabis and then they're like, oh no, that was actually a 0.8 grams. So now you just increased your THC percentage per that measurement. So there's different ways to cheat the system. But, you know, for me, working in the calibration industry, you know, the lack of consistency is what's really shooting us in the foot here. You know, to get to THC, you know, there's different ways of doing it, right? Chromatography, spectrography, each one has a different little mathematical about it and how do you come about it, right? Because as soon as you burn the plant, you're turning it to something else. So that's one, factor in it. So if different labs are testing it in different ways, you're going to have different results as well sometimes.
Yeah. Hey, I know everybody was talking a lot about the shelf life of cannabis. And literally today, I read a newsletter that I subscribe to. It's by Jackie Bryant. I don't know if any of you guys know who she is, freelance journalist, and now the editor of San Diego Magazine out of California. She's been on our show a few times over the last few years, and her newsletter is called The Cannabitch. Okay, that alone got my attention, and I've certainly read some of her stories in the past. First of all, congratulations, Jackie, because she admitted and shared with the world that she is with child, and now she's going to take a tolerance break. And she actually goes into, in this today's newsletter, all the different ways to preserve the quality of cannabis and how best to do that, because after all, she's got a stash, just like a lot of people have. And she's not going to partake during her pregnancy. So first of all, congratulations, Jackie. Great column as always. If you don't know The Cannabitch, I'm going out on a limb thinking if you Google Cannabitch, the newsletter will come up and Jackie with it. So any of you people know Jackie by any chance? Anybody? Bueller? No. Okay, well, hey, look.
Not. Where is she out
of? San Diego, because she's the editor of San Diego Magazine.
Yeah.
And she's a terrific writer. She really is. The thing that brought us together is she did a story about a couple in Maine that are lobster people. I call them lobster people because it doesn't matter if you're male or female. The lobster is the lobster, and that's their livelihood. And they basically, the whole premise of the newsletter was they got their lobsters high, or do lobsters get high? And since that's my favorite food, that caught my idea. I read it. I thought it was really well written. We've had her on a couple of times. And again, I just read that today. So if you Google Cannabitch, right, I'm pretty sure the newsletter is open for all. You can subscribe, obviously. And now, of course, she's soliciting fees to support her in her endeavors as well, like everybody in this industry is doing. Doug, I know I hadn't brought you in for a few minutes. I want to bring you back in here a little bit and get your opinions about some of the things that we've been talking about in our discussions here. How long is it going to take us to get out of this cycle of recession and perhaps depression? Are you willing to go out on a limb and put a time figure on that? And Josh, I'll go around the room and get it from you too.
I would say we're looking at a good year and a half before things start to get a little bit better. I tell everybody, be prepared for the next year and just make sure that you can get through it, because it's going to be rough. But yeah, at least a year and a half before the economy really starts to shift and change around. And then by that point, we'll be obviously having another election happen. So it'll probably be around the point when somebody else takes the White House, because this administration hasn't done hasn't been doing a whole lot of good, we'll say.
Right. We understand that. And we also understand that the outgoing governor of Massachusetts, Charlie Baker, will not be running for president because he was not basically appointed and won the presidency of the NCAA. So we want to congratulate. Yes, Rick, I love that look. That's exactly what I said when I read it. I was like, Charlie Baker's going to try and fix the NCAA. Well, Rick, forget the call. You could comment on that if you want, but let's go back to my original premise. Are we seeing a recession, depression, and how long do you think that downturn of the economy will take place in 2023?
Seems like a big step up in pay scale from a governor to the head of the NCAA.
About 5 times. Yes.
Second thing is, I think cannabis is probably a not safe for work Google search based on what I know about those particular phrases in the OnlyFans network. So, you might want to just be more cautious about where and when you search for that particular thing. But as far as looking at the federal relief, Safe Banking Act has been so close so many times and has still disappointed us over and over and over again. Considering what we heard earlier today from Morgan Fox, I'm just discouraged by the thought of any federal relief, which means that any kind of resolution to problems is going to have to come on a state by state level, which means there'll be a lot of losers out there. There'll be a lot of people that really don't get the support that they need from the federal government. So I think we're looking at least a year and a half to 2 years, as Doug mentioned, before we can really wipe the sweat from our brow, but it's going to be a really tough 16, 18, 20 months.
Hey, Josh, what's your feeling about it?
I think in order for the phoenix to rise from the ashes, it's going to take 3 to 5 years, and that's because a lot of the carnage needs to happen. And to Aaron's point about that counterparty risk, there's a lot of that has to fall out. And David had mentioned the $500 million in the top 10 MSOs in the US owing taxes to the IRS. That is the canary in the coal mine. And it's not just here in the US and Canada. They owe almost 75 million in the US. That's 172 out of 259 companies. 66% are struggling in Canada as well. So they may not owe as much to the federal government. What it's telling us is they are all failing, and they had first mover advantages. They played with other people's money at fairly low rates, and they still can't do it. So expect all of these mom and pops, 85%, to go out of business, but a lot of them still aren't paying themselves and able to kind of draw it out. So it's going to take about 3 years for that to really be obvious to anyone, and then a couple of years to develop a new market, a new connoisseur market that we're all patiently waiting for.
Patiently? I don't know about that, but we're waiting for it for sure. Thomas, What's your feeling about the downturn of the economy and its impact on the cannabis industry?
Well, I don't think it's going to be as bad as they say. I think it will be somewhat bad. And I don't know what's going to happen in 2024 because of the presidential election. The Safe Banking Act and federal resolution, federal guidance there, gone, completely gone. And then depending on how that 2024 election goes, could be gone for a lot longer. But, for right now, for the next 2 years, I'm hopeful that the results, and that's one of my top 5 stories, was Biden's executive action from October this year, the October surprise prior to the 2022 election, another one of my top 5 stories, the 2022 election. I digress. But I think that he's going to have another October surprise come 2024, and they're going to announce the results saying we recommend that in our next administration, we will reschedule in our next administration. And so like they're saying like, hey, get rid of us at your own peril. And so do one of those things. But for the S&P, yeah, it's selling off hard. I think the bear market started 12 months ago, and then it has maybe about like another 3 to 6 months, and then it's pretty much washed through unless China comes back, and then the war in Ukraine also resolves. Trying to keep ahead of inflation might take a little bit of time, but the market sold off pretty good. I just don't understand where in the fundamentals and the balance sheets of the American consumers, or even like most companies, where are they going to be underwater, like repriced how it was in 2008 with real estate, just taking all of real estate down 25%. Stocks reprice much quicker.
Speaking of stocks, that's Doug, my stock expert here. He's actually going to be joining the We Talk News team and give us a weekly stock report on cannabis stocks in under 90 seconds.
Nice.
What we ask. Right. Quick and dirty, people. I know how to produce content quick and dirty and how the importance is. Where are you going, Thomas? Okay.
And then you make it like this so that you do the 90 seconds. So you're on reels. They just keep changing the media. And so it's like you get your hands on this one. I think we understand how this one works. And then they go, oh, you understand how it works, do you? And then they screw it up and they change it on you. Yeah.
That's a 16:9 ratio that we like to tell everybody to go horizontal. Doug, just feedback on what Thomas said about the market. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I sure hope it only takes about 3 months. I was saying earlier, I see a quick run happening. It should happen after the new year. They're basically at the bottom right now. They're going to go bottom top real quick, and then it's going to come crashing really hard, slow, and painful. And it's going to take a while.
Is this the East Coast skepticism I'm hearing here?
I just call charts how I see them. And I called it in 08. I called Bitcoin when it went from 60 to 20 to the hour, and I can tell you what these charts look like right now. Can anything change? Of course. What's
your resistance line on the S&P, or which are you following the Qs? You following the S&P? Which one are you looking at?
So I look at everything in general. I look at every sector across the board, and I can really call anything that's going to pop. And this is the scary thing. Generally, on average, I can hit 1 to 300 percenters a day that are going to spike. And in the last 5 to 6 months, I probably hit about 7, which is just unheard of. It's kind of sad. And I can just see the charts. They want to set up and run, and then they just fall down. They want to set up and run, then they get pushed back. They want to set up and run, they come crashing back down. Every time the Fed speaks, it's a disaster. It's a red day. And we had 2 green days this week. And on average, there should be 2 green, 2 red in a sideways day. And for the most part, they're not even 2 greens anymore. We happen to have 2 green days this week, but they followed real hard with bigger sell-off red days than they were bigger green days. So it's been a tough market.
Isn't Green Day a group?
Yeah, we need them to start singing.
I'm so unhip, guys. Hey, Miggy, I don't want to ignore you either. I want to get your feeling about. In fact, I'd like an optimist to come out of the woodwork and tell me that the recession and the depression on the horizon is going to be over quicker than we think. Give me something to grab onto.
Well, I like hearing Doug's take, and actually that's why I like working with Tom, like and Josh, like to me, I create a network of smarter people around me so I can understand the world around me. Doug, when you're talking about these ups and downs and sideways, are you talking about the actual stuff on the market already, the MSOs that are out there?
No, I talk about in general everything. See, the cannabis industry is very difficult. We spoke about it with Gary Santos, as a matter of fact, and the whole industry only fluctuates. The stock price goes up when the industry moves. So if there's industry news, all of them go. They're not based off of if one company does well. Their stock generally doesn't go up a whole lot. Right. And right now, obviously, they're not really. They're quarterly their quarterlies aren't exactly beautiful to be making them go up. But at the same time, when they were producing good numbers, it would only be the whole sector would move. You would see Curaleaf and Hexo, all of them go the same day, and then they would all come down at the same time too. It's just an industry thing, and it's not based off of companies or basically anything.
Well, I find it because we use the word industry, but we're still talking about this federally illegal plant that there's no one stable industry, right? We have 50 different little industries that are going on. And then I'm like, how many burners are out there? There's only one. There's only one burner that I can name. The rest are True Leaf and whatever the hell they are. But to your point, Jimmy, nothing is inflation proof, right? We all got to pay for gas and do the thing that we do. But some stuff is recession proof. And that's what I've been talking with Tom. It's like we went through the pandemic with COVID. Cannabis was made essential. So, you're talking about a prohibition plant. People are going to be hemming and hawing. And really, I do feel for people in the industry, but as a consumer, this is still a win-win for me still, until I get some home grow and maybe some home delivery, but it's still better than going to a street dealer.
Is it though? Is it these days, guys? I mean, the street dealer, the legacy market is thriving thanks to the mistakes, the bumps in the road of the legal rollout. Thomas, I know you have something to say.
Well, I think Massachusetts is doing it okay. I think New Jersey's doing it okay. It's one of these deals where it should be more like liquor and less like plutonium. And gambling is now pervasive and everywhere. You can't go. I bet that we get interrupted in 5 seconds for a commercial to make a bet in Vegas, because that's how much gambling has come. Like, I remember when I was a child and, years ago, it was illegal. You'd have to go to Vegas for gambling. Now it's everywhere. And so that kind of direction is coming for cannabis. But when will it shake itself out and have like some type of normalcy? Decades. It's going to take decades, because you're having everybody do it their own way. And then when everybody does it their own way, it's really hard to have interstate commerce and standards. So you're going to have the Fed speak to it for some type of regulatory consensus amongst the states. And they did that with hemp, and they still don't have the DEA approved testing that they put into it. And that's years later. And so like we might have legalization and it's still freewheeling for many more years after that. And then they'll eventually come up with regulations, and it'll be just like owning a restaurant or a bar or a cracker factory that needs to comply with federal food regulations.
Yeah. Rick, do you echo those comments by Thomas by any chance?
Yeah, I sure do. In fact, you're going to see a lot of state-based actions because there will be a lack of federal oversight. And all the things he mentioned, standardization, a normalization, some kind of an agreement between states, those are necessary steps before interstate commerce can happen, which I think pushes the implementation date for that off a little bit further. But the pain is felt locally. The recession is felt locally. It may be a national phenomenon, but it's always been the local companies, the mom and pops that suffer for it.
Wow. I'm really not looking
Maybe the recession will be the straw that breaks the camel's back, because all the economic downturn, everybody will realize, well, we have to legalize it now federally, to get us out of the recession.
Now you're talking. Now I like that idea, because I think I just read another news story about a state or somebody is starting to put money into hemp as a building material. Did I not see that somewhere? But we all know it can be a building material. And I know I saw a change in the direction of hemp, and they're starting to recognize all the positives that this plant can deliver to not just our economy, but our environment too, guys. I mean, it seems to me, if we put some research into that plant, like we're supposed to be doing now, they're going to see all sorts of. I know I saw Henry Ford make a car out of hemp in my history of hemp presentation. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, actually, that car's still at the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan. So.
See that? All those little things about Michigan that I knew somewhere in the back of my mind would come out. Well, guys, listen, everybody on this call and everybody in this Zoom room and who has taken part today, all of you very special in the story that continues, that is Pro Cannabis Media, our weekly Weed Talk news show. A couple of correspondents are on with us right here, and I really am proud of the effort that news producer Tori Chamberlain has put in, Elena Pinto, who I think is a network quality anchor. And why she's working for us after a year is beyond me, but we love her for that reason alone. And same thing with you, Thomas and Rick and Josh as well. And I look forward to our cannabis reports in 2023 from the market, Doug, because it's obvious, you know what you're talking about, and I don't. Okay, so you're definitely going to be added to the team, and I appreciate that. And Miggy, you get the fan of the year every year, as far as I'm concerned. You do? You know, you're there almost every Friday in the chat room, and we so appreciate that.
I'm actually at work. That's why I can maybe have you guys.
That's awesome.
That is the way to go too, by the way. And I love that you get your earpiece in and nobody knows, but we do. All right. So this is my big holiday wrap-up speech. We've had a few 100,000 views of our videos over the last year. I think we're up to like 280 for the year, maybe closer to 300. And I'm amazed that this old white guy can talk about weed and weed business and actually get a following. Hey, who knew? That's why this country is so great, because we can talk about it and we can also share some of our knowledge with our audience. Last wishes. I'm going to go around the room one more time. Last wishes for 2023. Josh, what can we look forward to in your world? I appreciate everything you've done for us.
Oh, last wishes? I don't know. Get out more. Go to an event that you haven't been to.
I love that. I love that. Step out. Doug, what's your thought for 2023? And I'm not saying these are, New Year's resolutions. I'm just saying, give me a positive thought.
I was going to actually say, just have positive energy. It's all about having a positive attitude for everything. Yeah, the economy may not be the greatest. There's always a great opportunity for something, as long as you have your eyes open and you're paying attention and you're positive. That's how things happen.
Love that. Rick Thompson.
Cannabis social equity programs. I really hope that people find a way to make them work in different states, and then that success solution is emulated across the nation.
Isn't that a nice thought? Thomas?
Oh, well, I really hope that we can see you guys out there at the trade shows. I really wasn't out very much this year, and I felt bad about that. But I had to run a company, and now I feel like it's going to go out of business next year.
Oh, God, no. Don't say that. Don't say that. Speaking of trade shows, Miggy, hold your thought. I don't know if you guys saw the news item, but friend of Pro Cannabis Media, Chris Walsh, the CEO of MJ Biz Daily, is now the ex-CEO of MJ Biz. He has resigned and moved on, and we don't know where and what he's doing. However, we wish him well, because they've been great towards us over the years. And I guarantee this last MJ BizCon will be the last one I'm not at least I think so, if I live so long. Miggy, tell me a positive thought to send us off into 2023.
Yeah, by the way, we had him on the show, and really nice guy. But
he is a great guy.
I am looking forward to, hopefully the DOJ and DOH have a statement next year, right? I mean, there's been a directive laid out there. Come on, let's get this, because it's not McConnell.
That's right. It's just a federal agency, right? Just the federal agency, right? All right. Hey, once again, for everybody who works on this show, Dan French and Isabel Turner, I so appreciate the work you put in for all of us here. Remember, it is a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.
Thanks for listening to today's show. To check out more great cannabis podcasts, go to podconnects.com. Here's a preview of one of our other shows.
99.9% of our DNA is identical. It's a 0.1% that truly makes us different and unique. And that's what the show is about. Find out that 0.1% about your favorite guests. Find out what music they like, their first cannabis experience, and even what their room looked like growing up. But more importantly, or as important, their journey. Learn what makes them unique on Everything is Personal.